How's it going, everybody? And welcome to your May 2021 horoscope for Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn rising. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Before you jump to your sign real quick, let me just also say, I write all of the transits that I talk about week by week in the description below as well. If you're looking for the chapters so you can find your sign, that's also in the description below. I write these monthly horoscopes week by week so you can watch them in tandem with my weekly horoscopes. So make sure, you follow along with my weekly horoscope too. And if this is your first time on my channel, make sure you subscribe so you know when I do post my weekly horoscopes. That was pretty much the whole spiel in 30 seconds. I don't know what else to say besides I guess I will see you at the end. So Taurus rising. You guys have quite a bit going on this month. A lot of cool stuff, in my opinion, a lot of good stuff. We're starting week 1 of May. Week 1, starting off with Mercury squaring Jupiter. This is going to lead you, or you're going to be needing to kind of be more conservative with how you communicate a bigger message, especially in your workplace. You might take on a little bit more of a bigger bite than you can chew, so it's just kind of important to know your portions. As Mercury, though, moves into Gemini, that's where pretty much your mind's going to be focused on your money and your money on your mind. But there is this kind of where the past couple weeks, there's this more focus on yourself. Everything really just gets drawn now to money, possessions, what you own, what you have, your resources, how you resource those things, like where your money comes from and how you manage it too. Which that's going to be an important thing as we go through May. As Venus, though, Venus is going to square Jupiter throughout the week, and that pretty much means, well, Venus square Jupiter is kind of funny for you guys, because you might be on, like, the way I wrote this, I was like, you guys might be on some hot girl shit, and work might tell you to calm down. That's really the best way I could feel like I can describe it, because it's like there's a lot of action and a lot of things going on up in career, workplace, public life, and Venus is in your first house. You're feeling good, you're looking good, but there's this square, like keep it work appropriate. You know what I mean? Or like, if you can flex, but flex lightly. Like it's subtle flexing, right? Like you don't have to, like subtle flexing is like, you don't tell people that you got a bunch of money. You just like pull out like a gold or a black card. You know what I mean? Like it's subtle. That's really the best way I can go about it. Anyway, calm down. Try not to go too hard. Try not to stunt on them too much. And then as Venus enters Gemini, all of that kind of hard work really starts to pay off. And again, you get more focused on money. But as Venus enters Gemini, this is much more of a stimulating, doing something with it. Like if you're getting, like if any of the Taurus risings out there are into stocks and trading, like this is when you're probably going to have pretty much a field day with it. But you're going to be buying more things, spending more money, especially on shiny stuff too. So just try not to, try to kind of have a plan with what you spend. But as we get into week 2, Mercury's going to conjoin the North Node starting the week off. So this really brings a full, there's a lot of attention getting pulled towards your finances and resources at this point. Something is going to probably occur at that time, so pay attention because it's going to come up later on the quote unquote test. But then we have the new moon in Taurus on week 2. This is where you're going to feel like a really revitalized sense of self, make you feel a lot more, feel more grounded, leveled out after kind of a wild period, getting things more settled and locked in. Throughout this week too, you're going to be receiving some type of good news around money and work, possibly some type of a raise or a bonus. You're taking on more discipline and authority, and there's a lot of opportunities happening in your career space, and that's going to reflect in your bank account. That's going to reflect in, you being able to purchase more, take care of more stuff, right? But as Jupiter enters Pisces, which also happens this week, this is where you're really going to start to see a really big expansion with friendships, community, bigger groups of people, networks, right? You're going to see an opportunity of where things are going to start to expand. However, it's not all the expansion is going to happen right then and there. You're just going to start to see it happen. This is really a sneak peek into what 2022 has to offer you. But of course, we have to get there. But anyway, this is where it really starts. Friendships, communities, networks. You're just going to probably find a group of people, like a tribe to really get along with. Big sneak peek into 2022. But at the end of week 2, as we have Mercury entering shadow, well, Mercury entering shadow pretty much is going to begin the context. The context is going to start to develop in terms of what you're going to review and rethink and go over again in terms of money and finances and resources. This Mercury retrograde specific towards money for you guys. So this Mercury entering shadow is like when the context develops. So start paying attention week 2 around money stuff. You're going to have some ideas and you shouldn't act on them yet because you're going to rethink them. But you're going to start thinking about stuff, and that always gets people into trouble. So we'll see what that happens. But anyway, at the end of the week, Venus is going to conjoin the North Node, and that's where it's going to be really tempting to spend or really tempting to do something. You're going to be kind of like on a sugar high or kind of like sold something. So try to be cautious with where it's just going to be easy to be impulsive. But as we get to week 3 is you're going to be making a lot of strong connections and feel supported with your purchases and money regarding the new authority you have. Power and capital is fun. You're going to be enjoying, it feels good to reward yourself too. That's another thing that I would look at this, right? But as the sun enters Gemini, you're going to be kind of less focused on yourself, because for a while there you were really feeling yourself, and it's again now even more focus becomes focuses on your money. You're literally like how you feel yourself, how you resource things, right? That's where the sun kind of gets focused. However, there's kind of this challenge with it, with the sun squaring Jupiter. So there's kind of this connection between, friendships, networks, community, and your money and your resources. There'll be some type of challenge of integrating the two. And as well, during week 3, you're going to have Mercury squaring Neptune, and you may be tricked into putting money into a network, or a friend may need to borrow some cash, or vice versa, and the terms aren't going to be clear. There's going to be a lot of confusion over what's really going on. And then as kind of the week 3 ends, Saturn's going to station retrograde, where you're going to start to feel the weight of the new duties, the authority, the responsibilities you have. You're going to be challenged with it. This is where kind of, you have the title, you have the position. Well, now here comes the work, essentially. Let me get to week 4, and week 4 is kind of weird. We start the week off with the total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And this is really going to highlight debt, like with a B, and death with a scythe. Transactions, a loss, fear is going to be coming to your kind of immediate attention. There's going to feel like there's this drain, like something just kind of happened randomly. You might need to let go of a certain ideal that you kind of have. Maybe you kind of think, oh, it's fine, and it's not fine. You're going to be getting more new information at this time, and it's just kind of like, and once you get new information, you got to change your ideals. So that's going to be starting the week off. I really don't think it's going to be that fun for you guys. It's a pretty intense eclipse, but it's pretty much hitting you guys in a very difficult area. So just kind of go into it preparing. Again, a lot of money stuff coming up, and I think it really leads up to this lunar eclipse, where you might have an expense come up, or a transaction, or might have to handle a debt. Anyway, Venus is going to square Neptune on week 4, and that's going to make you feel overspent or overstimulated with friendships, like you got too much going on. However, as Venus starts to conjoin Mercury, as Mercury stations retrograde, there's pretty much this huge realization and change that kind of has to happen in your finances and your possessions, and you'll begin to change certain goals and priorities based off of new information, based off of a value change, based off of a overstimulation, understimulation type of thing, right? Shaking things up necessarily. So begin, like, over the past couple weeks, whatever you were kind of thinking about, what was kind of going, you're going to go back over that again, but this time you're going to do it differently because now you have a better taste in your mouth. And then at the end of week 4, Mars is going to trine Neptune, where that's going to kind of give you a much more intuitive sense of what to say and when to say it and who to say it to. Like, you're not going to be, again, your mind's on your money, your money's on your money. You got time to handle talking to people, but there's also going to be this, like, kind of crabbiness to your voice, defensiveness too. So just, kind of trust your gut instinct, and try to not to be super defensive. But anyway, Mars trine Neptune will be nice. And that's kind of how we end May. So May sounds, like I said, pretty crazy, but with that being said, I guess I will see you guys next month. All right, Virgo rising. Exciting, in my opinion, exciting month for you guys. We're starting week 1 of May with Mercury squaring Jupiter. starting the week off that way is going to kind of force you, or it's going to make you kind of question certain ideas and kind of force you to probably change some of your beliefs. You're probably going to see how things maybe not work, and you're probably going to have to not be stubborn about something, which I don't know how easy that will be for you. However, though, as Mercury enters Gemini after that, your mental energy, your mind is just going to be much more pulled towards career, public image, and just work-related activities in general. And you'll be feeling a much more natural position, like feeling much more like in your zone, essentially. Venus is also going to square Jupiter on week 1, and that's really going to show you that you can't always be idealistic. Sometimes you do have to kind of balance work with some of your hobbies. There's going to be kind of this, wanting to grow things, wanting to experience, wanting to travel, wanting to maybe even do more school work or more spiritual work, but it's also like, it's kind of like I used to be like, if you're a server, like you don't take Friday nights off. Like that's like when you work, right? So it's like Venus squaring Jupiter. It's like you want to go to a concert, but it's a Friday night, and you got like you could either do a double and like cash out, make some good money, or totally miss out on that and go enjoy something. There's something that there's certain lines that you kind of have to set, certain boundaries you have to set. But Venus square Jupiter is really just showing you can't always, you can't have your cake and eat it too sometimes, and you're gonna have to balance, where you want to explore, what you're trying to learn with what you got to do every day, what your commitments are. But as Venus enters Gemini, you're going to be valuing more connection and stimulation in the workplace, and enjoy your mingling, enjoy the stimulation, having more fun publicly, having more fun with people, enjoying your work more too. And that continues going into week 2, because as we start week 2, Mercury's going to conjoin the North Node, and that's going to have your mind, all of your thoughts extremely pulled towards your work and your career, whether that's better or for worse. As the Mercury conjoins the North Node, this is kind of also symbolizing somewhat of it's kind of like just put that day on the calendar. Something about that's going to come up again. Something in the workplace. But the new moon in Taurus, though, starting the week off, is also going to give you an opportunity to really settle down the more philosophical side of yourself. You're going to feel more grounded in your beliefs, kind of settled down in your spiritual side, feeling a little bit better there. And you'll be effectively trading and communicating in your workplace too. Communicating with others if you're in charge of other people. Things are just going to really, we're kind of firing on all cylinders at this point for you guys with work. So that looks really good. Because I'm sure you've needed some wind going through there. And a lot of it also during this time too, just a lot of effective communication. I think that's the most important thing to know out of week 2. But also, Jupiter enters Pisces. So a big opportunity really starts to form in relationships for you. And I'm sure someone is probably going to make themselves very well known to you. Of course, this is only really showing what's going to happen in 2022. Because in 2022, Jupiter's going to transit your 7th house. You're probably going to get in a relationship. A lot of you will probably end up getting married at some point, or at least be in a really focused relationship. But you'll really start to see that coming about once we get to Jupiter just entering Pisces. It won't really happen until later next year, but I'm sure someone's going to get introduced. I'm sure you'll probably meet someone. And then at the end of the week, Mercury starts to enter shadow, which really sets the context for, maybe this is where a miscommunication happens at work. This is something we're going to talk about for the next week. But this is really where what things that are going to change about your workplace, what things that you're going to review and rethink and re-strategize on. This all really starts to, the context really starts to begin at the end of week 2. But we get into week 3, and week 3, what's nice about week 3 is when we start it, this is what Venus trining Saturn. You're going to be really rewarded for a lot of your hard work in your workspace. You're going to feel good publicly about yourself and what you do. You're just going to feel like you got your shit together. Like you're firing on all cylinders. Attention is going to get much more focused on individuals in the workplace, though. And as Mercury squares Neptune, there's going to be a miscommunication, or at least to the bare minimum, a misinterpretation with you and someone else quite publicly. So like, for example, For a lot of you, you need to log off of the internet. A lot of you for that. But this is also like you're gonna get into a public miscommunication with someone or someone at work, prominent in the workspace, maybe even your boss. So just expect it. And it may not even be a miscommunication. It may be a misinterpretation of what you said or of what they said. So you just have to know that it can look a lot of different ways. But either way, the message is not going to be as clear as maybe you thought. And as we end week 3 with Saturn stationing retrograde, this is where you're going to start to feel the more of the restraint and more of the heavier side of all of the responsibilities and the duties and the obligations you've had to take care of regarding health, especially health. A lot of you taking care of a lot of health stuff. This is where a lot of more responsibilities are going to kind of like fall into line. Being more on top of your habits, your routine. This is where it's kind of like, when you get more authority and you get more control, you have more power, which is cool, but also comes responsibility. And this is where that responsibility really starts to set in. And then we get to week 4. And week 4 of May is very dramatic. It's very different from, of course, the rest of the month. But we start the week off with the total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And this is really going to dramatically highlight your home, your family life, your living situation. And this could look a lot of different ways. This can look like a pipe bursting. This can look like all of a sudden you have to move. Just eclipses in the 4th house. It's always like a pipe bursting, like that usually ends up happening. If not, it's something else, but along the lines of a problem happening there. But it might be something that you have to move. Either way, it's something that is going to either physically or metaphorically require you to move on. And there's going to be some type of drain, some type of exhaustion there. But as we move on in the week, Venus is going to square Neptune, and that's where you're going to kind of feel maybe overstimulated and really confused with others publicly, maybe wanting to turn down the volume a little bit. Maybe there's just a little bit too much going on all at once. You can't hear over all the noise. However, as Venus comes up to conjoin Mercury, as Mercury stations retrograde up in your 10th house, this is where you're really going to begin to review and reflect your career, your public positions. This could be because of a new belief that you have, a new interest that you've gotten, some money that you've received, or some position changes. That you've got some money going up, and now that you're doing better with work, what is changing about your worldview? I think this is really where you're going to kind of see things differently and maybe want to express yourself differently, put yourself in a different position. And a lot of your public image is really going to change at this point too. Miscommunication is going to come up. The misinterpretation is going to come up. So just pay attention when Mercury stations retrograde. But then we end the month with Mars trining Neptune. And that's going to make you feel like you need to protect certain friends or call out certain mysteries in relationships. Like this is going to be kind of like, hey, maybe I need to be more protective or defensive, or maybe I'm feeling, this could also be like maybe you're not as friendly right now, like other people, like you're not hanging out with your friends as much right now. Mars trining Neptune, you might be a little bit kind of like coming up with opinions or ideas or telling yourself stories about certain people, and this might be a time to call out certain mysteries in relationships if things are uncomfortable. But just know when to trust your intuition, your gut, and know when you're also just like making stories up. But that's how we end May. So with that being said, I will be seeing you guys next month. All right, Capricorn rising for May. You guys are actually the last one I'm recording, so you get to get the very tired side of me. So I think that's probably appropriate for the Capricorn risings. Anyway, May's interesting for you guys. Let's go ahead and start week 1 of May. We start May off with Mercury squaring Jupiter. Now for you, you're gonna want to conserve what you like invest into your creative projects. Like you want to be inventive and thrifty rather than just splurging. There's gonna be something that you're like, kind of focused on, and your money or your resources may kind of make you have to kind of adjust some things. Be open to change. However, right after that, as Mercury enters Gemini, that's when you're going to become much more focused on the logistics of your day-to-day endeavors, your health, your habits, your routine. You're going to start really looking for like the faults in your plans. Like you'll really be able to identify like things that like are an issue. Like, you're Capricorn rising. You're like, I need to solve issues. Anyway, that will happen. Venus is also going to square Jupiter in week 1. And the thing is, it's going to make you want to splurge on something, whether that's spending money on a night out, or, on someone, or on luxury goods. Hey, spend the money, don't spend the money. I think, as you're a Capricorn rising, you'd probably regret it anyway, but also I think it'll be easy to splurge, but maybe just do it on a budget. Maybe set a budget for yourself. Don't just swipe away, but I probably don't have to tell you guys that because you're Capricorn risings. But anyway, that's going to be a thing. Later on in the week, we'll have Mercury trining Saturn, which that's really going to give you a better sense of, kind of what you need to do in terms of your budget, your finances, your money, giving you more control, more understanding, power over it. Maybe this is more lucrative work, finding ways to make more money out of a situation. And then once we get to the end of the week, Venus is going to enter Gemini. And that's when pretty much with Venus and Taurus, you're really just kind of like, all right, I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to fuck. I'm trying to relax. And as Venus goes into Gemini, think of last spring when we had that Venus retrograde. What about your habits and your health really changed? Because that's what's also going to really start getting kind of kicked into gear. And as Venus enters Gemini, you're going to be much more stimulated by your routine, much more stimulated by your work and the labor that you put in. You're going to be wanting to do more of that, especially creatively too. So then we get to week 2. Week 2's got a lot going on. Really, week 2 does have a lot going on. Starting the week off with Mercury conjoining the North Node. Pretty much your ideas are going to be really sharp. Your wit's going to be really quick. And you're going to be able to be really solution oriented, looking for solutions or finding problems, realizing those problems, when it comes to your health, your routine, your day-to-day activities. You'll be seeing, it'll be easier to know what the issue is, learn about it. You'll be really focused on, taking care of it. The new moon in Taurus that we're going to have in week 2, that's really going to give you a creative reset too. Things that were kind of turbulent there, and you'll be a little bit more settled, a little bit more grounded. And then with Mercury trining Saturn, you're going to have you'll see a lot more efficiency show up in terms of money and your work. Expect a reward, in my opinion. And then, of course, we have Jupiter entering Pisces in week 2 too. So this is where it's entering your third house. So the problem with this is that the third house just rules a lot of stuff, right? So it's going to be kind of hard to pinpoint here, but just bear with me. You're going to see an increase, whether it's in short distance travel or writing or communicating, specifically how you're getting a message across. It's going to be Jupiter is say more, put out a bigger message, do more, right? That's going to be a big thing. Also interacting more with your environment, people that are around you, close to you, they will become allies. They will just, the people in the environment around you is going to become much more amplified, abundant. There'll be opportunities. There'll be something to learn. And that's something too, that's also going to be much more of a theme in 2022. We're just kind of getting a whiff of it right now, so just expect more of it. However, it starts here week 2 of May. But then we have Mercury entering shadow, and that's when you're going to start to see a lot of the context really start to begin, or a lot of the context kind of develop around your work, habits, routines. You'll be focused on, what needs to change. Mercury entering shadow is once we get to the end of week 2, that's when you really want to start paying attention, because everything that you kind of work through and talk about during that time, you're going to come back again. So it's just kind of the time to really start paying attention to what you're really mentally focused on, especially in terms of work, routine, and health. And then, of course, we get to week 3. Week 3, things get weird. You start the week off making solid connections with money, work. That Venus-Saturn trine is really nice. But Mercury is going to square Neptune. And that's when you're going to realize that you probably misinterpreted something, or someone else misinterpreted something or miscommunicated something. And you're going to kind of realize this is kind of confusing. I'm not sure what I'm doing. But I think there might be a language barrier is a good way to put it too. But as we kind of get at the end of the week 3, Saturn's going to station retrograde. And you're going to see a lot of the responsibilities, the obligations and duties that, you've been really taking on when it comes to your finances, your possessions, what you own. A lot of that's going to get kind of called into play, and you're going to really feel the weight of, what you've kind of signed up for. It's kind of like, more money, more problems type thing, but you're just going to, what disciplines you have to take on, what responsibilities, you kind of have to show up for, what you're obligated to do, that pressure is going to really manifest itself by the end of week 3, specifically towards any type of new money obligations or responsibilities that you've taken on. And then week four, things get even more weird, in my opinion, because we start the week off with the total lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. Eclipse season is always wild, but this is really going to be highlighting for you certain ideals, fears, beliefs, enemies potentially that need to be done away with as you realize like what needs to change and what you need to let go of. A lot of this eclipse is draining, releasing, changing your vision, and it's going to be kind of one of those things that kind of just, it's like, you ever have something like really emotional happen to you, but you don't process it, and then like something random happens, like you drop a hat, and all of a sudden that's it? Like I could see this eclipse being kind of that moment, just heads up. It may not be for all of you though. Anyway, my advice is just let it go, because you know what the problem is? You have the solution, so you should address it. Then we're going to have Venus squaring Neptune. That's going to make you feel like, you've been working too long, trying to get too much, been on the dance floor for too long, you're overstimulated. But then Venus is going to move forward and conjoin Mercury. Mercury is then pretty much going to station retrograde. And that's where you're really going to see what habits need to change. Again, think back to last spring where health, employment, day-to-day matters really came up. This is where you're starting to have a value change, and now your understanding of how things operate. Again, this is why I kind of opened up this horoscope with hold on, let me look at my paper here with the fact that you're looking for solutions to problems. Because this Mercury retrograde is gonna show you, it's kind of like, the Mercury retrograde is going to show you the source of the problem. You're going to be seeing symptoms of an issue, but you're not going to know what that underlying issue is until Mercury retrogrades. And then that's where you're going to go, oh, this is what I need to change. This is what I need to review and reflect on. So as Mercury stations retrograde, you'll have a value shift, value change. This is also going to relate to work too, because it's a Mercury retrograde on top of Venus. So this could deal with coworkers, employees. It can be it's a Mercury retrograde. It's a miscommunication no matter what. But for you, mostly it's just looking at what habits and day-to-day stuff needs to change in terms of work, and also too of pleasure, but that's something else. Mars is going to trine Neptune at the end of the week, and although that's going to give you a much more romanticized engagement with another, it's spicy in a good way. You also might be defensive or have a misunderstanding of an intuition with someone. So like Mars in Cancer is making relationships a little bit cranky. So just kind of expect a sensitive dilemma to come up as Mars trines Neptune, where it's going to be really easy to imagine things, especially if you're acting out of like an insecure spot. And so just do what you got to do and act more defensively than offensively. That's the month for you guys, really. So with that being said, catch y'all next time.